Alright, okay.
Boleh,
So
Doktor.
kita mulakan kelas kita pagi ini dengan membacakan Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Hari ini kita akan bincangkan our last topic, our last and final topic within dalam kita punya syllabus, which is the child court, child court. So bila kita membincangkan berkaitan dengan child court, maka we need to discuss within the purview of two acts. The first act would be the Child Act 2001. Okay. And secondly, we are going to discuss about the CPC, our CPC. So the child court, it's quite special in nature, because if you can see that from your textbook, it beginning at the page of 705, okay, it mentioned about the court for children, right? And when it comes to court for children, of course, it is a special court designed for any criminal cases, which pertaining to the child as the person that being suspected as committing crime, right? So there are a few terminologies which is not applicable for child, but applicable for the other accused person, right? In which we are going to discuss further and later on, But however, I believe that you guys during the tutorial session, I think some of you are already discussing about this particular situation which pertaining to the child offender, right? When we discuss about the sentencing part towards the child offender, okay? So this is the act. If let's say that you want to refer to any act, especially the Act of Child Act, Act 611, you must ensure that it is the version of as at 1st February 2018. Yeah? And you can see here that the latest amendment towards the act is actually on the 1st of January 2017. Yeah? Although although this act actually received the royal assent in February 2001 and come into force in 1st of March 2001. So the composition of this particular act, if you can see from the arrangement of section, I always mention to my student, it doesn't matter lah mana-mana student pun saya bagi tahu, sama ada law student ataupun non-law student, I believe that when you read the act itself, please read as if you are reading a novel, because when you are reading a novel, you read from the first part and you will not skip, right? Because you want to know the continuity of the cerita, the continuity of the storytelling or the storyline, right? So it seems like when you read the particular act, for example, this particular act, then it's started with the arrangement of section preliminary, right? And having a few parts. For part 1, of course, it is something which is obvious for you guys, preliminary, the object, the title, the application, and the interpretation of the act. Part 2 is the National Council for Children. Okay, if you can see here from section 3 until section 7A, right? So this is something which I just want to tell you that there is a special council pertaining to the children, okay, and children is under the care and purview of the Ministry of the Family, Women and Kementerian Wanita, Keluarga dan Pembangunan Masyarakat, right? So then we move on to part 3. Part 3 is relating to the protector. What does it mean by protector? You are going to come across these terms protector when it comes to the matter when the child being arrested, okay? Because when the child being arrested, if the accused person is an adult, normally they are going to appoint a lawyer. But in terms for the children, normally they will be when the children being arrested, for example, or involved in any criminal investigation, especially being arrested, so there will be a protector in which the protector will take charge of the affair of the child, right? The protector will contact the parents, the guardian, and make sure that they are being informed pertaining to the child, the affair of the child itself. And you can see under section 8, there is actually a new section pertaining to, if let's say that protector is not available, then they need to appoint assistant protector, and it is the administrative officer under the government. Protector means the officer from Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat that is being a custodian. They are not calling it as a custodian, but they call it, it is known as a protector, right? Then we have Court for Children, which is under Part 4. So the constitution and the jurisdiction of the Court for Children, you can see under Section 11. This is also very important because it is a special court in nature. You need to remember that Court for Children is a special court in nature. The place of sitting so starts from Section 11 until Section 16, and the most important part is the presumption of age. Okay, what will be the specific age that fall under the jurisdiction of the Court for Children? Okay, so although it is not mentioned about the terms jurisdiction, but you need to know that under Section 11 until Section 16, it is obviously specifying the function and role of the Court for Children and its jurisdiction as well, right? Okay, then we have Part 5, Children in Need of Care and Protection. Somehow that I want you to know that we have International Convention on the Protection of Child, and this particular convention, if you are taking public international law, it is something which international convention in nature, in which Malaysia is one of the signatory country to this particular convention, and Malaysia need to ensure that they have a proper law to ensure that the child will be protected, especially the child in contact of the if the child in contact of the law. What does it mean by child in contact of the law? Meaning that if the child is directly involved with the enforcement officer, okay, if the child being accused of doing something or alleged offense, okay, so there must be a specific law in our country to ensure that we are complying into the international standard to protect the child. Okay, so because the child is in need of care and protection, this is a basic principle, and that's why we have Part 5 here from Section 17 onwards. Okay, and there will be if let's say that the child being arrested or the child is actually put under the temporary custody, temporary custody, then it is fall under Section 18, as well as the medical care and attention and examination as well as treatment, right? So this is actually, if you can see under Section 19, the production before the Court for Children, they are going to say that if let's say that you want to put that child behind bar or in the custody, you must ensure that it will be separated. The custody would be separated, not in the normal prison. Okay, not in the normal prison, although the child being remanded. Okay, whether you may ask me whether the child can be remanded, the answer is yes, the child can be remanded under Section 117. Okay, whether the child can be put behind bar, yes, the child can be put behind bar, but we must ensure that when it comes to the arrest, you learn about the arrest, there will be a different treatment for child, okay, for a child that being accused compared to the accused person, which is an adult. Okay, so this is something in which you need to remember in terms of care and attention. When the child is put under the temporary custody, you must ensure that the child will be sent for medical examination, care and need, and so on and so forth, right? So this is under Chapter 2, okay, from Section 18 until Section 30, right? So there is a new amendment under Section 29A. If you can see that under Section 29A, it is mandatory. It is mandatory that the information on child in need of care and protection will be given to the parent, okay, and the information not to be disclosed to the public, okay, and we will see under Section 29A after this, right? Then if let's say that chapter 3, this is also very important. Just want to share with you, for example, section 31. If let's say that the parent will actually abandon the children or neglect the children, the children in need of food, for example, but the parent fail, okay, because we have quite a number of cases. We actually allow the children to be used for begging, for example. We allow the child to go to some other place without any proper supervision. Okay, we have quite a number of cases. Even if you remember one of the case of Nurin Jazlin, for example, in which the parent actually asked the child to go to the shop to buy something, in the middle of the night, okay, and after that the child went missing, and after that few days later the police found the child dead inside the bag. So supposedly the parent can be charged under section 31 for any ill treatment, okay, and it is an offense, for example, to leave child without reasonable supervision. But it is hardly debated, because why? A parent normally will say that, look, we are suffering because our child actually passed away or being murdered, for example, and you want to sue us or you want to charge us because we neglected or because we expose our children unnecessarily to the risk of any further criminal act. So it is hardly debated. But frankly speaking, if you were to ask me, whatever happened towards the child, it is the responsibility of the parent. And one day you are going to become a parent. Please remember that you do not neglect or abandon or expose your children to any unnecessarily action, okay, or any risk, because you may actually face action under section 31, 32 and 33, and it is something which is an offense, okay, by neglecting the children. All right. Then we go to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is actually notification on taking child into care, custody or control. So this is something, if let's say that there are various, for example, if let's say there is you heard actually a child cry, loudly, and after that you discover that the child is being beaten, for example, or being neglected, there is actually a cases in which the parent went out, and after that the child being locked in the house, okay, alone, right? So if let's say the policy now, if let's say somebody make a report either to the police or either to the welfare department, the welfare department has authority to seek for a court order, okay, to seek for a court order to take the child from your care and to put it into a child into care, okay, the center for child into care, right? So this is something which it is mentioned under section under chapter 4 from section 34 until section 37, okay. So I believe that you may see that it is also under part 6, children in need of protection and rehabilitation. This is also something which if let's say that the child has been put in the refugee, for example, we have a quite number of cases in which the child being brought together in Malaysia by their parent, in which their parent are illegal immigrant, for example, or parti, pendatang asing tanpa izin. The problem would be we actually try, we are as a government, we are not just to take care of their parents, but also we need to take care of the child, okay. The food, for example, the baby formula, even the milk, and also diapers. This is also quite disturbing, because it was revealed that we do not have any budget so far to support the child in refugee, especially among the enforcement officer. You just imagine, in practical, we have more than 100 child in refugee, especially now during COVID-19, in which the government actually took actions against parti, for example. And this include the child of that particular party, right? So when it comes to the welfare, of course, we need to ensure that the parents will be under the safe custody. Okay, dalam tahanan parti under a safe custody, kita nak bagi dia makan, dan kalau misal kata dia sakit, kita kena bagi dia medical treatment. At the same time, we do not have any special treatment. Bukan tak ada special treatment, we need to treat their child as well, and we don't have any proper budget for this. So for this particular situation, if let's say that the child need the protection and rehabilitation, the court for children actually will issue an order for the child to be kept under the protection and rehabilitation under section 40. Okay, so this is something that the protector will make an inquiry under section 39A. Okay, and this is something which we need to take a proper precaution, because whatever it is something which we have to do because we oblige as the member of international convention and for the sake of humanity. You may see that some of the child are exposed as a beggar, for example, or some of them are exposed in terms of sexual harassment, or being traded, okay, as a sexual slave, for example, and this happened in other countries. And for Malaysia, we try to avoid this to happen, right? There are actually offences which prescribe under section 43, 44, and 45. Okay, in which offences which related to this particular act. Okay, there is actually a provision relating to child beyond control, and they need to be supervised by the probation officer. Personally, for example, we have quite a number of cases, most probably. That is something that you need to know, that on the ground, this is happening not in the city, this is happening in the suburban or in the village, in which the parent came to the welfare officer. They are saying that they have a child beyond control, they can't control their child, and because they are busy with their work, the child went out and did not come back. Okay, and for a few days they don't know where their child about, and after that their child suddenly came back. So they say that they cannot control. So when it comes to they cannot control, then the protector will bring the child to application to the court to transfer the custody from the parent to a probation officer for a supervision. Okay, because we always believe that the child need to be kept under safe custody. So that's why if let's say that you are becoming a judicial officer in the future, you need to ensure that you understand the situation. We may say that, look, oh, it's very easy for you as a parent, you know how to, because sometimes you know lah kan, kata-kata orang ni kan, kadang-kadang kata, oh, you pandai bawa anak but you don't know how to take care of your children. But you cannot say that, because sometimes you don't know something beyond control. It is lucky because your family most probably have a very you have a very religious framework, but to a certain extent, not all family can afford that. Especially in the city, for example, you have 2 rooms of house of PPA 1M ataupun rumah prima, but you have more than 8 children, for example. Okay, dan kalau you lihat dalam majalah 3 pun, dan dalam berita dia kata when the country went into lockdown PKP now, it is hard for you to ensure that your family member are put safe inside one house, because somehow or other they want to go out because the house is so small. So the social affair of the community must be taken into consideration when you are actually nanti jadi peguam ataupun prosecutor ataupun work with the court, okay, for this particular situation. Okay, then it is also an offence under Part 8 relating to trafficking in and abduction of children. This is under section 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53. Right, so the protector will play an active role in to ensure the security of any children that being held under unlawful possession, custody, or control that relating to trafficking. Trafficking ni maksudnya penyeludupan kanak-kanak, right? So the importation of the child by false pretense. So this is something which cover the any action or offences against child. There will be a center Center is also very important for you to know. What does it mean by center? It is under part 9, which relate to institution. Yeah, the minister may approve any center under section 53A, and they are certain center, for example, places of safety and places of refuge under section 54 until section 57. There is a special section under section 55A which relate to aftercare of child release from place of refuge. Okay, and then there is actually institution number 2 is places of detention under chapter 2 of part 9, in which it's from section 58 until section 60. Okay, and then they have a probation hostel under chapter 3. They are also approved school. I think you heard about the Henry Gurney School, right? You have heard about some other like Rumah Sinar Harapan, for example, right? This is actually a few institution and approved school, as well as the hostel and also the places of detention that specifically being established for child. And Henry Gurney has its own section under section 73 until section 75. You may ask me, Henry Gurney, what is it? Is it a school or a prison? Okay, under the law, it is a school, but it is actually served as a protection, a center for children. It is actually like a prison, but we don't call prison for children. We call it is actually for rehabilitation of child, right? And okay, please bear with me. I need to go into detail about this. Section 76, special provision of places, in which it is under the law that the minister need to ensure that the Henry Gurney School will be specifically for children. And if let's say that we would like to remove the child from imprisonment, we actually, the minister can do that to remove the child from imprisonment to the approved school of Henry Gurney School under section 78. Okay, so the child also can be substituted, yeah, in terms of detention to the terms of imprisonment. Okay, so they can they can convert the terms of imprisonment with the terms of detention under the Henry Gurney School. Okay, and we are going to see that, or maybe you guys can discuss. This is important under part 10 that we are going to discuss today, which pertaining to the criminal procedure in court for children, right? So the word there is criminal procedure in court for children, meaning that this is a specific act that govern the criminal procedure for the court for children. And when it comes to the court for children, you can see that it is something important for you to note, yeah, that what will be the jurisdiction of the court. Okay, what will be the jurisdiction of the court? Right, we can see that under section 11. Under section 11.5, okay, under section 11.5 mentioned about the jurisdiction of the court. Okay, in which the court for children shall have jurisdiction to try all offences except those punishable with death. Meaning that you can see that the court cannot impose any death penalty towards the children. Okay, what is children? You may see under section 3 means a person under the age of 18 years. And in relation to criminal proceeding means a person who has attained the age of criminal responsibility under section 82. Okay, you still remember under section 82 of the penal code, okay, the criminal responsibility of a child has been stated there, which is under the age of, there are actually quite a number of argument whether it needs to be under 14. Okay, and if you remember under the Evidence Act, the child cannot commit any offense if he or she is under 14. Even under 14, meaning that they cannot even commit the offense of rape, for example. But what about the child above 14 and actually under 18, right? So this is something which is very interesting, because nowadays the child 17 years old is actually no, from the record there is a child age 12 which is a specialist in theft of motorcycle, okay, in which dia boleh leraikan motorcycle tu within 10 minutes, okay. So and they can commit robbery from one house to another, and they committed the said robbery inside the police compound, maknanya quarters police, dan kita ada kes berkaitan. Okay, so you may see under that court for children, the jurisdiction is under 11.5, and you need to remember as well, let me browse through from one section to another. You may look into this particular section later on. But for the purpose of this lecture, I think it is better for you to look into the section. Okay, the court for children will constitute in accordance with this act for sitting for the purpose of hearing, determining, disposing of any charge against child, exercising or any other jurisdiction conferred. And section 5, a court for children shall have jurisdiction to try all offences except offences punishable with death. You may ask me, so who can become the judge for this particular court for children? Okay, you may see that under subsection 2, a court for children shall consist a magistrate who, in the exercise of his function as a court for children, except when making order under section 39.4, 42.4, 84.3, and 46.1. Okay, what is it? We are going to see later on. Okay, right. And this is something that you need to know, that in terms of place of sitting, person who may be present in court for children will be either the court for children must be situated different in the different building, in the different room in which sitting of court other than court for children are held. Okay, so it must be in a separated building or in a separated room, for example. Okay, so you need to remember under section 12.3, no person shall be present at any sitting of a court for children except the members and officers of the court, meaning that the judge, the interpreter, the police and the prosecution officer, for example. Secondly, the children who are parties to the case before the court, their parents, guardian, advocates and witness, and other person directly concerned in that case, and such other responsible person as may be determined by the court. So this is something that you need to know, right? So any other person except that cannot attend. They cannot attend. They can't attend. Are restricted and they are not allowed to attend. Okay. So all right. Period specified in any other order made by court for children not to extend beyond the date child attained the age of 18 years. We have a few cases in which what happens if the child is the age of the child is now beyond the border. For example, he was 16 when he committed the offense, and let's say the court make a decision that he need to go to Henry Guinea for 3 years, and of course within the calculation 3 plus 16 would be 19. So you know that child is under 18. So if something which is beyond the age of the child, so it will be subjected not to extend. So the court need to consider the age of the child when they are making the order, because it cannot go beyond the date child attained the age of 18 years old, right? What else? That is in terms of orders. The court for children may impose any of the orders stated under section 30. No child under age of 14 shall be ordered to be imprisoned for any offense or committed to prison in default of any payment. This is also very important in terms of sentencing. Yeah? A child under 14 shall not be ordered for imprisonment, and he cannot be committed to be in prison in default of any payment or fine. Okay, you have learned about imprisonment as a default of the payment of any fine. Okay, for the child under 14, you cannot do that. right? Whereas a child aged 14 years and above shall not be ordered to be imprisoned if he can be suitably dealt within any other way, whether through probation, fine, detention, or being sent to approved school, for example, Henry Gurney School. Further, a child aged 14 years or above, if imprisoned, shall not be allowed to associate with any adult prisoners. These are orders that can be that must be known to ensure that they will be a separate. The child will be separated from an adult. Right. Let's go towards the important section. For example, section 97. Okay, section 97. What does section 97 means? Okay, let me browse through section 97. Is there any questions so far? You may interject, you may ask anything during my lecture. If I'm too fast, then please let me know. If you can't hear me, please let me know as well. I believe you guys can hear me, right? Okay, section 97. If you can see section 97, the title is death, meaning that a sentence of death shall not be pronounced or recorded against the person convicted of an offense if it appears to the court that at the time when the offense was committed, he was a child. Okay, so this is quite controversial in a few cases, in which the court actually under section 11.5 cannot impose any death sentence, as well as it being strongly emphasized under section 97, the court cannot, and the word there is shall not be pronounced or recorded against a person convicted, okay, if it appears that when it was committed, he was a child. Okay, we have a famous case of Lim Hang Seo. This is actually, I mentioned to you that this particular child has been convicted under the ISA at that particular time, and he was sentenced to death because of the possession of pistol and ammunition. Okay, but he was pardoned by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, and the death sentence was commuted to detention in Henry Gurney School until he attained 21 years old. That is at that particular of time, right? And then we have a case of Muhammad Haikal, Muhammad Khatib, and others versus PP, in which the child was charged under murder of section 302, and the court actually ordered the child offender to be detained in the prison during the pleasure of Yang di-Pertuan Agong, right? And the Court of Appeal affirmed the sentence. And in the case of PP versus Kok Wah Kwan, section 97 has been challenged when the child aged 12, which is the respondent, was charged and convicted for murder under section 302, and the prosecution actually appealed because the court say that the child cannot be put under the death penalty, and the child must be sent to the detention. The child must be sent. The child who has been convicted need to be detained during the pleasure of Yang di-Pertuan Agong, okay, under section 97.2. Because you can see here, section 97.1, the death sentence shall not be pronounced, and under subsection 2, in lieu of a sentence of death, the court shall order a person convicted of an offense to be detained in the prison during the pleasure of Yang di-Pertuan Agong if the child is under the federal territory of Kuala Lumpur or any other country and states, and ruler of all Yang di-Pertuan Negeri if it is committed in the state, right? Okay.
Doktor,
Yes.
in lieu tu maksud dia apa?
Apa dia? In lieu tu maksud
In
dia
lieu.
sebagai ganti. In lieu
Okay.
means sebagai ganti kepada sentence of death, right? So in lieu means sebagai ganti, ya. Alright, that is actually under 97 subsection 1. Okay. We mentioned about the location just now. It must be separated, and this is in lieu with section or in lieu. This is in accordance. In lieu lain, in accordance lain. In lieu maksudnya sebagai ganti. In accordance adalah berdasarkan kepada section berapa? Section 12. The location must be separated. Must be separated. What about the arrest? Can the child be arrested? The answer is yes. That is under section 110. Let me browse through section 110 for your better understanding. Section 110 spell out about the any police may arrest. Okay. Section 110 is actually under part 13, yeah? Part 13, which relate to investigation, arrest, search and seizure, in which the police, a protector or police officer may investigate. This is quite the beauty of the act is like this. A protector, which is not the police officer, may also investigate into commission of any offences under this act. Okay, so Child Act empowers not just the police officer but also the protector, okay, to make an investigation, to conduct the investigation. Okay, so if let's say that the protector, when acting under this act, shall on demand to declare his office to the person against whom he is acting, or to or from whom he seek any information, and if let's say that the protector or police officer summon you, summon ni bukan saman macam saman tak pakai helmet ya, summon you maknanya call you to give information under section 1093, then you are legally bound to give information. Okay, the person who has been summoned by the protector or the police officer will be legally bound, bukan legally apa ni blonde, legally bound to give the information or to produce any document or other things. Okay, and power of arrest provided under section 110. However, only the police may arrest, and the arrest is without warrant. Okay, any person whom he reasonably believe has committed or attempted to commit or employed or aided any other person to commit or abet the commission of any offence, and may conduct the search of any person so arrested. Okay, and any person arrested under this particular subsection shall, after the arrest, to be dealt with as provided for by the Criminal Procedure Code. So you need to remember that, of course, the police may arrest the child, and then the Child Act empowers only the police officer to make an arrest and to conduct a search towards the person in which a child who has committed, attempted to commit, or abetted the commission of an offence under the Act. Okay, so this is very important. Procedures for search and warrant, search and seizure. There will be search warrant under section 111, in which provide that upon written information on oath that there are reasonable cause to believe that in any premises there is any evidence of a child who is in need of protection or is being concealed, confined or detained in contravention of the Act, or there is any evidence or commission of an offence against this Act, a magistrate may issue a warrant, a search warrant authorizing a protector or police to make an enter, search and seizure. Search is quite different. Search means that if the magistrate being informed or applied by the protector to say that, look, there has reason to believe that the child has been concealed or confined or has been detained in contravention with this particular act. For example, ada laporan mengatakan kanak-kanak tersebut telah pun digari ataupun dikurung. Bukan digari child tidak boleh digari kalau nak diikutkan kanak-kanak dikurung. Mak ayah, kalau you masih ingat lagi, ada kes yang kanak-kanak tersebut telah dirantai dekat tong gas. Bukan rantai tepi meja, rantai dekat tong gas pula tu. Dia dah tak ada tempat lain dekat nak rantai budak tu, dan they went to work. Dan bila orang dapat tahu, orang buat police report, and the magistrate will issue a search warrant. Okay, a search warrant to enter into such premise, to inspect, to make any copy, to make a search, for example, in order to remove the child to a place of safety, Okay, so This is something that you need to remember, okay? Who is protector? Protector yang saya cakap ni siapa? Protector ni has been defined under section 2, subsection 1 as a Director General, Deputy Director General, a Divisional Director of the Social Welfare, Department of Social Welfare, the State Director of Social Welfare, or any Social Welfare Officer appointed under section 8. Maknanya pegawai yang dilantik adalah pegawai Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat, penjawat awam, dan dia akan dilantik, dan pelantikan dia sebagai protector ni adalah gazetted, digazetkan. Not all officer can become a protector. Once you being appointed as a protector, you need to ensure that you have a power, your conduct must be in accordance with the Child Act 2001. If a child has been placed in the place of safety pursuant to section 1111D, okay, 1111DB, sorry, okay. The protector shall as soon as practicable inform the parent or guardian of child of his whereabout. This is very important. Kalau dalam CPC ada tak peruntukan ni? Jawapannya ada. Maksudnya the police need to inform in terms of the status of investigation. Kalau you masih ingat lagi, section berapa tu? Okay, nanti kena lihat ya. Sama juga dalam Child Act, the protector need to inform the parent of where the child of his whereabout. Okay, a female person or a male person shall not be searched except by another female person or male person respectively with strict regard to decency, and this is in line with section 1114. Okay, you can see that a female person shall not be searched, okay, or except by another female person. So this is a strict regard to decency. If you remember that the search to person, remember search to person as a setback of what happened in the few years back, ada couple tu dia kena tangkap dan disyaki terlibat dengan dadah, lepas tu dia pergi ditahan, dan semasa ditahan memanglah cara search, body search pada masa dahulu adalah seseorang tu akan dibogelkan dan dia kena squat. Okay, dia kena squat. Tapi the reason dia kena squat adalah sebab dalam banyak keadaan dia menyembunyikan dadah di dalam dubur. So the squat tu maksudnya dia nak supaya dadah tu jatuh daripada dubur supaya polis taklah cocok kan. Tapi entah macam mana gambar tu telah leak dan dia dapat public outcry mengatakan bahawa tidak ada peri kemanusiaan pula lah kan. Body search tu diconduct kan sebab dia subjected to decency, matter of decency dan kehormatan. Okay, jadi sebab itulah adanya garis panduan berkaitan how to make intrusive body search. Ingat, how to make a simple body search. Dan kalau tahap body search tu memerlukan intrusif, maksudnya kalau disyaki lah, maksudnya perlu buat body search yang komprehensif, kena dilakukan oleh seorang doktor dan dia hendaklah mendapatkan kebenaran daripada ketua polis ketua polis di tempat tersebut. Kalau masih ingat lagi. So the strict regards to decency terpakai bagi section 1114. Okay. Lepas tu apa lagi? Ada terdapat beberapa perkara lain, search without warrant, okay, dan power of investigation. Okay, power of investigation. Subsection 5 of 1111, a person who by force, restraint, threat, inducement or other means causes any child who is in need of protection to conceal himself in or to leave any premises being searched or to be searched by protector or a police officer under this particular section with the intention that the search by protector may be evaded or obstructed, commit an offence. Maksudnya kalau ada orang tu dia memaksa kanak-kanak tersebut melarikan diri ataupun menyembunyikan diri. Maksudnya orang ni dia menyembunyikan child tersebut, apabila polis ataupun protector nak selamatkan dia, so orang tersebut adalah commit an offence under Child Act 2001. It shall be the duty of the owner or occupier of any premises searched under this section or any person found in or on the premises provide the protector with all such facilities and assistance and to give reasonable information required. Maksudnya kalau you ada rumah you sewakan rumah tersebut tapi you tak tahulah couple tu sebenarnya adalah orang yang jenis mendera kanak-kanak dan sebagainya, when the protector or police officer datang, you must give full assistance, bantuan dan juga information. Itu adalah berkaitan dengan isu search with warrant, search by warrant. Ada juga search without warrant. If a protector or police officer has a reasonable to believe that by reason of delay in obtaining a search warrant under 111 would adversely affect the investigation or it will be frustrated the object of the entry, so dia boleh masuk tanpa sebarang warrant. Okay, so ini di bawah section 112. Kemudian power to examine person is under section 113. So examine person ni memeriksa orang tersebut dan you boleh baca berkaitan dengan section ini Ada soalan
Doktor,
Ya.
saya terlepas. Apa maksud protector tadi?
Protector tadi adalah kalau you dapat lihat di bawah section 2 subsection 1 of Child Act, protector adalah Director General or Deputy Director General ataupun Divisional Director of the Social Welfare of the Department of Social Welfare. Maksudnya dia adalah seorang penjawat awam dan merupakan pegawai di Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat. Grade dia adalah grade S. Kalau misal kata you all berminat, you all boleh apply nanti dalam SPA. Pegawai dia ada satu pos khas pegawai pegawai kebajikan masyarakat ataupun pegawai pemajuan masyarakat that has been appointed. So they are going to be considered as a protector. Terms dalam akta mengatakan bahawa mereka adalah protector. Dan dalam Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat sendiri adanya special post ataupun division berkaitan dengan Jabatan Perlindungan Kanak-kanak. Okay, di mana Jabatan Perlindungan Kanak-kanak ni dia adalah very responsive when it comes to the protection of a child. Setiap negeri akan ada pegawai pelindung kanak-kanak, protector dan sebab itu kalau kita dapat lihat protector ni plays very important role to save the child. Okay, to save the child ataupun to ensure that the child will be kept from imprisonment to the safe custody. Okay, dan yang saya menyatakan tadi dalam Child Act, kalau masih ingat lagi institution dan sebagainya, protector ini pun sehinggalah pada satu tahap boleh menjalankan siasatan sama seperti kuasa polis. Cuma dia tak boleh buat tangkapan je. Okay, right? Boleh ke, Faiz?
Boleh doktor, jelas. Terima kasih.
Alright. So powers to investigate, powers to investigate. You may see under section 113. Powers to conduct investigation is under section 113. Okay. Do not confuse section 113 CPC dengan section Child Act Cuma kalau misal kata formula untuk you ingat adalah section 113 dalam CPC itu to record statement. Kalau dalam Child Act 113 adalah power to conduct an investigation. Meaning that a protector and a police officer. Cuba tengok kat situ protector ni diberikan kuasa untuk menyiasat sama seperti pihak polis. Cuma dia tak boleh membuat tangkapan dan buat search ataupun selongkar sahaja. Okay, dia tak boleh buat search, maksudnya they need to go together with the police because only the police can do the arrest. Okay, and you can see that under section 113 subsection 1, okay, a protector or police officer may investigate the commission of any offence under this act. A protector on demand shall declare his office to the person. Then after that, the protector that conduct investigation and offence under this act may order any person to be examined orally or to produce any child, any book, any article or document that may assist. Okay, maksudnya kalau dia dapat tahu berkaitan adanya parent yang cuba untuk melakukan jenayah terhadap kanak-kanak, maka dia boleh ada kuasa untuk menyiasat dan itu nanti siasatan boleh dibuat di bawah section 113. Alright. Okay. Coming back into the criminal procedures from section 83 onwards. Apakah prosedur pertama untuk membolehkan kanak-kanak tersebut dibawa di mahkamah? Pertama adalah melalui tangkapan di bawah section 83A. Okay, in which you can see here the arrest under section 83A. A child who is arrested shall not be handcuffed. Kanak-kanak tidak boleh digari. kecuali jika kanak-kanak tersebut, if the offence with which he is arrested for is a grave crime meaning that adalah jenayah berat, or the child forcibly resists the endeavour to arrest him or attempt to evade the arrest. Ini saya pernah teringat ya, ketika saya di mahkamah Kota Tinggi Johor, apabila seorang kanak-kanak tersebut dibawa di hadapan mahkamah. Mahkamah tu berada di atas bukit, belakang dia adalah ladang kelapa sawit. Dan mahkamah tersebut berada di tingkat 2. Bayangkanlah tingkat 2 tu tinggi tau. Jadi selepas pertuduhan dibacakan, kanak-kanak ini nampak mula takut, dia terus lari daripada open court. Lari, dia terjun daripada tingkat 2 pergi tingkat 1 dan dia terus lari masuk ke ladang kelapa sawit tersebut. Few hours after that, beliau telah ditangkap oleh pihak polis kan. Jadi kemudian beliau telah dibawa semula ke hadapan saya dan beliau telah pun digari. Jadi secara asasnya kanak-kanak ini tidak boleh digari, tetapi jika melibatkan jenayah berat ataupun jika dia cuba untuk melarikan diri, maka dia perlulah digari. Okay, so when a child is arrested, he shall be informed of his ground of arrest. Ini yang you kena faham juga, prosedur berkaitan arrest. Hendaklah dimaklumkan berkaitan his ground of arrest, and the police officer shall soon as maybe before commencing any form of questioning or recording of any statement from child, communicate. Please communicate. Maknanya police kena communicate dengan parent, guardian or relative of the child, and the probation officer to inform the child whereabout. Dia akan bagi tahu kanak-kanak ni ditahan sekarang di mana. Okay, and they will be a rights to consult with a counsel of the child choice. Kanak-kanak ini diberikan ruang dan peluang untuk melantik peguam. A police officer may allow the probation officer. Tadi protector, ini ada probation officer pula. Apa maksud probation officer? Probation officer ni adalah salah seorang pegawai. Dia sama juga dengan pegawai Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat. Tugas dia adalah sepanjang masa kanak-kanak ini ditahan atau dalam proses siasatan, dia akan accompany kanak-kanak ini. Itulah namanya probation officer. And the parent the police officer kena allow probation officer, parent ataupun sebagainya ni untuk melawat atau be present, maksudnya hadir at the place where the child is being detained. This is very important under section 83A subsection 3. You need to inform, the police need to inform. Besok you jadi peguam nanti, kalau orang datang, anak saya telah ditangkap. First you nak tanya anak tu dalam umur berapa tahun. Okay, dan kemudian you need to make sure that the police inform and allow you to be present. Okay, whatever grave offence pun yang police syak dia telah lakukan, the right under section 83A subsection 3 must be given. Okay, for the probation officer, for the child to be present. Okay, to be present dekat tempat kanak-kanak itu ditangkap. Okay, to ensure the child welfare. Okay, nothing in this section shall be deemed to affect the powers of police officer to deal with a child arrested. So, walau bagaimanapun, to balance the interest, kuasa polis tidak boleh dihadkan dan adalah tertakluk kepada CPC. Maksudnya kuasa dia agak besar jugalah dalam melaksanakan siasatan. That is under 83A. Well, we go for charges. Charges untuk kanak-kanak, boleh lihat section 83.1. Provide a child shall be arrested, detained and tried according to Child Act, and if offence is committed by a child but the charge in respect of the offence was only made when he attained the age of 18, the child shall be heard by a court other than court for children. Okay, dalam section 83.1, notwithstanding anything contained in any written law relating to the arrest, detention dan sebagainya, the child who is allegedly to have committed an offence shall not be arrested, detained or tried except in accordance with this act. Okay, di bawah subsection 83.2, kalau kita dapat lihat, when a child is charged with an offence before a court for children and during the pendency of the case, he attained the age of 18 years, the court for children shall, notwithstanding any provision, continue to hear the charge against the child and may exercise the power under section 76. So kalau kita dapat lihat kat sini, child tu hendaklah dituduh di mahkamah, okay? Dan juga apabila dia melepasi umur 18 tahun, dia ada dua option, sama ada child itu dipindahkan ke mahkamah biasa ataupun dia kekal didakwa di mahkamah kanak-kanak tersebut, ya. Namun demikian, dia kena lihat kepada bidang kuasa mahkamah juga. Jika kesalahan tersebut melibatkan di bawah bidang kuasa mahkamah session, contoh kes Rogol 376, dia adalah di bawah bidang kuasa mahkamah session. Boleh atau tidak mahkamah kanak-kanak, sebab mahkamah kanak-kanak ni magistrate. Adakah mahkamah kanak-kanak ini ada kuasa untuk mendengar? Jawapannya tidak boleh. Okay, dia hendaklah dipindahkan ke mahkamah session. Okay, so mahkamah session akan bertindak sebagai hakim mahkamah kanak-kanak dalam mengendalikan kes tersebut. So dia depends dengan bidang kuasa mahkamah tersebut. Okay, so kita tengok pula section subsection 3, when an offence is committed by a child but a charge in respect of that offence is made against the child after he has attained the age of 18 years, the charge shall be heard by a court other than the court for children. Jika beliau ditangkap dan didakwa pada masa usia beliau telah melepasi 18 tahun, tetapi pada masa dia membuat kesalahan tersebut, umur dia adalah bawah 18 tahun, maka mahkamah yang boleh mendengar kes itu adalah mahkamah biasa, bukan mahkamah kanak-kanak. Okay? Maksudnya, jika dia melakukan kesalahan tu, usia dia masih lagi kanak-kanak. Tetapi apabila dia ditangkap dan dia didakwa, usia dia telah melepasi umur kanak-kanak. Jadi dia tidak boleh didakwa di mahkamah kanak-kanak, dia hendaklah didakwa di mahkamah biasa. Ini adalah di bawah subsection 3. Boleh ke kanak-kanak tersebut didakwa bersama dengan orang dewasa? Jawapannya adalah boleh. Di bawah subsection 4, it is also important to note that if a child is charged jointly with an adult offender, contoh robbery ke pengedaran dadah dan sebagainya. Okay, di bawah section ini, 83 subsection 3, okay, then the matter would be heard by a court other than the court for children. Maksudnya dia tidak boleh didengar di mahkamah kanak-kanak, dia didengar di mahkamah biasa. The other court shall exercise all the powers that may be exercised under the Child Act in respect of the child, taking into account of the probation report. Walaupun, ini benda yang paling penting yang you nak kena tahu. Dalam untuk bukan menjatuhkan hukuman, you cannot say that you convicted. Okay, you cannot say that you convict the child. Jika you dapati dia bersalah, okay, maka you tak boleh kata dia disabitkan dengan kesalahan tersebut. Okay? Apa yang you boleh buat adalah you hanya mendapati berdasarkan daripada keterangan beliau dikaitkan dengan kesalahan tersebut, dan sebelum menjatuhkan hukuman, di samping ada mitigation dan aggravated punya appeal, okay, you kena lihat juga probation report, laporan akhlak. Probation report ini mandatory untuk mahkamah, dia perlulah ditender di mahkamah sebelum hukuman dijatuhkan. Dan probation report ini dikenali sebagai laporan, kalau nak diikutkan laporan akhlak. Okay? Laporan akhlak ni bukanlah nak menunjukkan akhlak dia baik tak baik, tapi nak menunjukkan latar belakang keluarga dia. Okay? Probation report ni menunjukkan latar belakang keluarga dia, the environment, okay, kat mana dia sekolah, okay, parent dia siapa dan sebagainya, to look into the totality of the child, the background of the child. Okay, so that the judge will understand before nak jatuhkan hukuman. Okay, before untuk memberikan perintah, ya. Dan walaupun kanak-kanak tersebut didakwa di mahkamah yang bukan mahkamah kanak-kanak. Contoh dalam subsection 4, jika dia terlibat dengan katalah kecurian dengan orang dewasa, dia akan didakwa bersama-sama. Dia boleh didakwa bersekali dengan orang dewasa. Walaupun bukan di mahkamah kanak-kanak, mahkamah tersebut kena ambil kira juga probation report dia. Okay. Jadi hakim, bukan hakim mahkamah kanak-kanak, kalau melibatkan pesalah kanak-kanak, must take into account the probation report. Okay, this is under section 83 subsection 4 A or B. Okay, A or B, yang ada di depan you all sekarang ni, ya. 83 subsection 4. Okay. If during the case the child attain the age of 18, the relevant section applicable could be section 83(2), which we provide the court for children to continue. Okay, ini saya katakan tadi, kalau misal kata dia didakwa secara bersendirian, semasa melakukan kesalahan dia di bawah 18, tapi dia didakwa selepas 18 tahun, mahkamah kanak-kanak masih boleh mendengar. Okay, so you boleh baca case PP versus Termuzi bin Mahazi and another. Okay, apa yang mana kanak-kanak tersebut telah pun didakwa secara bersama di bawah section 39B. Okay, so yang menjadi isunya adalah berkaitan dengan bila 39B, maka dia akan didakwa di Mahkamah Tinggi, bukan di Mahkamah Kanak-kanak. Jadi Hakim Mahkamah Tinggi telah mengguna pakai section 83 subsection 3. Okay, 83 subsection 3. Okay, yang mana kedua-dua OKT yang juga melibatkan kanak-kanak tersebut adalah secara rightfully and legally tried by the High Court, since the alternative charge was framed and tendered to the court after both the accused has attained 18 years old. Okay, jadi kanak-kanak tersebut telah pun disentence with 10 years imprisonment and 10 strokes of whipping. Okay, which mean dia tidak dihukum gantung. Okay, sebab pada masa kesalahan mahkamah ambil kira dia didakwa selepas umur 18, tetapi masa dibuat tu adalah masa di umur bawah 18 tahun. So Hakim mengatakan bahawa it is very interesting, Hakim mengatakan bahawa kalau tengok dalam page 715, the court is mindful that the object, intention and spirit of the legislature in introducing the Child Act is for a person who has attained the age of criminal responsibility as prescribed in the section 82 and is under the age of 18 to be tried by the court for children, and the same should not be frustrated. However, section 83 provide the power for this court on the facts and circumstances in the instance case to be tried. Okay, so the court cannot overlook that the punishment to be imposed is solely and exclusively at the discretion of the court. Ini yang macam saya bagi tahu, and cannot be usurped. Maksudnya usurp ni diganggu oleh mana-mana pihak lain. Okay, jadi bila melihat kepada perkara ini, maka mahkamah mengatakan bahawa mengambil kira kepada pertuduhan yang dibuat dan juga selepas mengambil kira faktor bahawa adanya akta kanak-kanak, maka dia telah pun memilih alternative charge. Mana kanak-kanak ini instead of 39B dijatuhkan hukuman di bawah section 39A of the Dangerous Drug Act. Right? Boleh? Okay. Boleh? Alright, the institution and the conduct of the prosecution sama sahaja di bawah section 376 CPC, iaitu all the conduct of prosecution will be handled by the public prosecutor. Boleh atau tidak kanak-kanak ini dijamin? Jawapannya boleh di bawah section 84. Okay. Relevant section, you boleh tengok section 84 jaminan tersebut dia mengambil kira kalau kat situ section 84, if a child is arrested with or without a warrant, the child shall be brought before the court for children within 24 hours. Ini dah lebih kurang macam riman. Okay, 24 hours exclusive of the time necessarily for the journey from the place of rest to the court for children. If it is not possible to bring the child before the court for children within the time specified, the child shall be brought to a magistrate court. Okay, and the court for children before whom the child is brought shall inquire into the case. Dan lepas tu the court for children shall release a child on the bond with or without sureties. Okay, dia boleh dilepaskan dengan bond, okay, ataupun bail, okay, sementara menunggu dia punya trial. Okay, nothing in this section shall be deemed to affect the powers of police officer to release the child arrested. Jadi kalau nak dapat lihat kat sini, maknanya child tersebut boleh di-release on the police bail atau the court bail. Okay, maksudnya kalau polis nak release dia on the police bail boleh. Kalau polis tak nak buat macam tu, bawa dia dekat court for children akan keluarkan dia bail. Okay, so this is something which relating to bail, Dan you boleh baca kat situ ada perbincangan yang agak panjang dekat situ ya, berkaitan dengan bail. Okay, relating to trial process, sila tengok section 88. Sepi sebelum tu saya nak beritahu kepada you, section 85, when the child being arrested, they need to be separated. Separation of child from adult in the police station and the places of detention or court. It must be separated. Dekat court tu memang ada lockup. Okay, memang ada lockup ya. Kadang-kadang lockup dia ada 2-3 ya. Kanak-kanak tidak boleh diletakkan dalam satu lockup yang sama dengan orang dewasa. Itu konsep dia. Okay, they cannot be put under the same custody with an adult. Okay, so to prevent a child, this is also something yang you need to remember ya. You boleh lihat juga berkaitan dengan beberapa section lain, dan kita melihat kepada trial kat sini. Trial process adalah di bawah section 88. Dia bermula dengan section 88.1. Parent and guardian kena hadir. Kena hadir. If the parent or guardian fail to attend the court for children, he or she commit an offence and is liable to fine not exceeding RM5,000. Okay, so this is very important untuk you lihat ya. Di bawah subsection 1 mengatakan bahawa the parent must come. If the parent tak hadir unreasonably, okay, maka dia boleh didakwa dan melakukan kesalahan di bawah section 88 subsection 2. Okay, right? Okay, the procedures in the court for children is spelled out under section 90. Okay, this is something that you need to remember. Section 90 procedure in court for children adalah lebih kurang macam summary procedure under section 173. Remember, kita bincang section 173, subsection A sampai subsection O. Kalau you nak tahu ada ke tidak summary trial atau summary procedure for court for children, ada, iaitu di bawah section 90. Okay, section 90 memberikan detail di mana kalau tengok section 90 subsection 1 menyatakan if a child is brought before the court for any offence, it shall be the duty of the court to explain to him in the simple plain language suitable to his age, maturity and understanding the substance of the alleged offence. This is very important. Kanak-kanak tersebut apabila dibawa di mahkamah, dalam banyak kes tidak ada peguam. Tidak ada peguam. Jadi mahkamah tidak boleh treat dia sama dengan orang dewasa. To a certain extent, apabila melihat kanak-kanak itu, katalah kanak-kanak itu tidak faham, mahkamah kena explain dekat dia in a very simple and plain language sesuai dengan umur dia. Okay? Dan mahkamah tak boleh paksa, mahkamah tak boleh marah ataupun sebagainya, sebab you need to cater into his or her well-being as a children, sebab dia tidak faham nature. Mungkin that is the first time dia hadir di mahkamah. Bayangkan kanak-kanak tu dia pergi ke mahkamah. It is a big world for him or her in which dia tak faham. So the duty under subsection 1 may be undertaken by the supervision of the court, sama ada by the defence counsel atau by any responsible person, terutamanya probation officer yang juga akan hadir. Ataupun ada the protector. Okay. After the substance of alleged offence has been explained to the child, the court shall ask the child whether he admit the facts constituting the offence. Not to plead guilty. The word here is admit the facts constituting the offence. If the child admit the facts constituting the offence, the court shall ascertain the child understand the nature, this is voluntariness, and after that record a finding of guilt. That is under subsection 4. Subsection 5, if the child does not admit the facts constituting the offence, the court shall then hear the evidence of the witness in support. Maknanya, kalau dia tidak mengaku berkaitan dengan fakta yang membawa kepada kesalahan dia tu, maka barulah mahkamah akan mendengar keterangan daripada saksi-saksi yang lain. Maknanya barulah ada perbicaraan. At the close of the evidence in chief of each witness, the witness may be cross-examined by or on behalf of the child. Mahkamah kena pastikan kanak-kanak ini ada hak untuk memeriksa balas saksi-saksi tersebut. The court for children shall accept if the child is legally represented to allow the child, parent and guardian or any relative or other responsible person to assist him in conducting his defense. If let's say that the child telah dipanggil untuk kata kanak-kanak ini boleh dibantu oleh ibu bapa dia atau penjaga dia untuk membela diri. Okay, untuk membela diri dia. Okay, memang kita ada ibu bapa sebenarnya yang memeriksa balas saksi-saksi bagi pihak kanak-kanak tersebut. Sebab dia tak mampu untuk ada lawyer. Dan mahkamah kena berlaku adil dengan memberikan ruang yang seluas-luasnya bagi membolehkan wakil bagi kanak-kanak ini untuk memeriksa balas. If in any case where the child is not legally represented or assisted in his defense as provided under subsection 7, the child, instead of asking question by way of cross-examination, make assertion. Boleh tanya apa-apa soalan yang penting ataupun meminta mahkamah untuk bertanya apa-apa soalan. Okay? Ini adalah pada masa kes pendakwaan. Subsection 9, if it appears that the court that the prima facie case is made out, the court shall explain to the child that the substance of the evidence against him, and in particular any point in the evidence which especially tell against him or require his explanation, the child shall be allowed to give evidence upon oath or affirmation or make any statement if he is so desires. Or and the evidence of any witness for the defense shall be heard. Maksudnya kalau ada prima facie, maka child tersebut akan dipanggil untuk membela diri. Okay, akan dipanggil untuk membela diri. Jadi mungkin ada yang tanya, ada ke 3 hak berkaitan sama ada dia boleh bagi keterangan bersumpah dan sebagainya tu? Okay, kalau dekat section 173F EFG tu memanglah dia kata ada 3 right tersebut. Tetapi for child hanya ada 2. It's either the child give evidence upon oath or affirmation melalui keterangan bersumpah ataupun keterangan bertulis secara bersumpah, or make any statement ataupun membuat sebarang keterangan yang mana dia mahu. Dan dia boleh tender evidence atau witness untuk didengar oleh pihak mahkamah. If the court for children find the child is not guilty, the court shall record an order of acquittal. This is what we call as DNA ataupun AND. Acquit and discharge. Okay, dia bukan DNAA ya, maknanya dia tidak boleh didakwa lagi. Dan section 11, if a finding of guilt has been recorded or the child is satisfied that the offence is proved, the child and the child parent and guardian or other responsible person, if present, shall then ask if they desire to say anything in extenuating or mitigating the penalty or otherwise. Maksudnya kalau mahkamah mendapati adanya kesalahan tersebut dilakukan, bukti tersebut cukup, maka dia akan rekod finding of guilt, dan dia kena tanya dan beri ruang kepada parent untuk mitigation. Subsection 12. The court for children shall, before deciding how to deal with the child, direct a probation officer to prepare and to submit a probation report. Selepas mitigation, court for children akan minta pegawai probation ini mengemukakan probation report. The probation report under section 13, ini you nak kena faham. Probation report tersebut must be prepared and submitted by the probation officer dalam tempoh 30 hari daripada tarikh yang diminta oleh pihak mahkamah. Okay, prepare and submit the probation report. Apa yang perlu ada dalam probation report, you kena lihat sini. The child general conduct, the home surrounding, the school record, the medical history of kanak-kanak tersebut. And so, to enable the court for children to deal with the case in the best interest of the child and may put to him any question arising out of the probation report, and may include any written report from the social welfare officer, a registered medical officer, or any person whom the court for children thinks fit to provide a report on the child. This is very important. Sebab nak melihat sama ada kanak-kanak ini sebenarnya ada masalah psikologi, ada kesan psikologi dan sebagainya. Sebab you nak kena faham ya, mental health ini ada tahap-tahap dia. Okay, unsoundness of mind maksudnya you cannot control yourself anymore. It's beyond your control. But psychiatric illness, contohnya kalau berkaitan dengan trauma, kemurungan. You dengar cerita berkaitan dengan ada pegawai perubatan yang murung dan kemudian membunuh diri, okay, kerana terlalu penat. You juga perlu tahu jika kanak-kanak tersebut expose kepada penderaan, dia juga akan mengalami masalah psikiatrik. Kalau dia nampak ibu dia didera sebagai contoh, okay, dia akan ada masalah psikiatrik dan dia tidak mahu untuk berada di rumah. Itu sebabnya dia tak balik rumah dan dia keluar cari kawan-kawan dia dan dia committed the offence at the wrong time and at the wrong place. Okay, so laporan daripada registered medical practitioners ini very important. Jangan kata, oh ni unsoundness of mind, takkanlah dia perlu dijatuhkan hukuman kan? Bukan. Ini untuk melihat sama ada dia pada tahap kesihatan yang macam mana. Sebab macam saya beritahu, kalau unsoundness of mind, maknanya kalau dia seorang yang gila, maksudnya it's beyond its control, it's beyond his control. You tak boleh kawal. Tapi ada dalam keadaannya sebagaimana contoh jika kanak-kanak tersebut dalam keadaan kemurungan, dalam keadaan tertentu, which is psychologically affected tetapi boleh dirawat. Perkara ini perlu dizahirkan, it must be reflected in the probation report in order for the court for children to deal with this case in the best interest of the child before make any order. For the purpose of obtaining probation report, the court for children may from time to time release the child on bail. Maksudnya, sementara nak buat keputusan, perlu ada probation report, child ini boleh dilepaskan dengan remand atau boleh dilepaskan dengan bail ataupun di remand di tempat tahanan. Subsection 15, if the court for children has considered the probation report, the court shall explain to the child the substance. Perlu tanya substance tu. Dan juga perlu pastikan bahawa betul ke tidak substance tu kepada mak ayah kanak-kanak tersebut yang hadir. Okay? Sebab nak melihat apa? Untuk melihat in reference of the character, conduct, home surrounding or the health of the child. Okay? If the child or his parent having been explained the substance of any part of the probation report, dan kalau misal kata information tu material, maka dia boleh untuk menangguhkan perbicaraan bagi memastikan adanya further information, and if necessarily require the person who made the report to attend the hearing when it resume, and when deciding on the order to be imposed. Ini kalau nak bukan jatuhkan hukuman, sebab mahkamah tak boleh jatuhkan hukuman. Apa yang mahkamah boleh buat adalah deciding on the order to be imposed. The court shall ascertain from each of the advisor. Selepas mendengar probation report, yang akan hadir semasa mahkamah nak buat keputusan itu adalah penasihat kanak-kanak. Okay, advisors. Advisors ini adalah seseorang yang dalam kalangan masyarakat setempat di dalam daerah ataupun locality ataupun jurisdiction mahkamah tersebut yang dilantik oleh Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat dan digazetkan sebagai penasihat kanak-kanak. Dia bukan protector, jangan pening kepala. Advisor ni adalah pemimpin masyarakat setempat. Fungsi dia adalah untuk memberikan opinion, and such opinion shall be recorded. Okay, maksudnya mahkamah lepas dengar probation report, probation tu diterangkan kepada kanak-kanak dan kepada mak ayah kanak-kanak tersebut, betul ke tidak untuk melihat daripada segi mental karakter kanak-kanak tersebut, dan selepas mahkamah berpuas hati, maka mahkamah akan rekodkan dan kemudian mahkamah kena dengar pula pandangan daripada advisor. Advisor ni adalah penasihat kanak-kanak. After having recorded and considered the opinion of the advisor, the court shall decide on the order to be imposed. But in so doing, shall not be bound to conform to the opinion of the advisor and shall record its reason for dissenting from such opinion. Maksudnya, mahkamah tidak terikat untuk mendengar apa juga komen daripada penasihat kanak-kanak ni. Okay? Dan mahkamah, maksudnya shall not bound. Dan mahkamah bolehlah untuk membuat perintah yang bertentangan dengan nasihat kanak-kanak, nasihat penasihat kanak-kanak tersebut. Okay? Alright. So at the conclusion of the trial, apa yang mahkamah boleh buat? Sila lihat section 91. Dia sama ada melepaskan kanak-kanak tersebut dengan amaran. Dia sebiji macam section 294 atau dia sebiji dengan section 173A. Admonish and discharge the child. Dilepaskan dengan amaran ataupun melepaskan kanak-kanak tersebut dengan bond berkelakuan baik. Okey. Ini pula macam section 294. Okey. Tapi section 294 dan section 173A tidak terpakai dalam ni you nak kena refer section 91. Nombor 3, apa yang mahkamah boleh buat? Mahkamah boleh order the child to be placed in the care of a relative or other fit and proper person. Contohnya mahkamah boleh perintahkan kanak-kanak ini diletakkan di bawah jagaan mak ayah dia ataupun di bawah jagaan mana-mana pihak lain sebagaimana yang dirasakan, yang difikirkan fit and proper person, okay, by the court dengan condition-condition tertentu. Apa lagi yang court boleh perintahkan? Court boleh perintahkan kanak-kanak ini membayar denda ataupun pampasan atau kos. So section 91 ni dia adalah sentencing untuk kanak-kanak tapi kita tak namakan dia sentencing, kita namakan dia sebagai order. Apa yang boleh diberikan lagi? Di subsection DA, make a community service order ataupun make a probation order under section 98 ataupun kanak-kanak ini boleh diberikan kata orang dihantar ke mana-mana sekolah yang di-approve or Henry Gurney School. Okay. Kalau dilihat di sini, kanak-kanak ini juga can be imposed on the child if he is age 14 years and above and the offence is punishable with imprisonment. Okay, maknanya dia boleh dihantar untuk dipenjarakan. Seperkara yang menarik subsection G yang you nampak deleted ni, kalau satu masa dahulu kanak-kanak ini juga boleh dihukum dengan hukum sebatan, tetapi telah dipinda. Maksudnya kanak-kanak tidak boleh disebat lagi. Okey, kanak-kanak tidak boleh disebat. So ini yang sebenarnya mendatangkan apa kata orang tu perbezaan pandangan. Bukan perbezaan pandangan di antara ulama-ulama criminal justice. Okey, sama ada kalau kat sekolah kanak-kanak ini sebenarnya boleh disebat. Okay, sebab ada peraturan Kementerian Pendidikan mengatakan kanak-kanak boleh disebat. Jadi kenapa pula kalau itu kanak-kanak disebat oleh cikgu kat sekolah tanpa a proper judicial punya order? Jadi kenapa pula kalau yang akta kanak-kanak ni dia tidak boleh disebat? Jadi KPM telah pun, Kementerian Pendidikan telah pun diminta untuk mengkaji mekanisme tersebut Jadi kalau nak diikutkan, kanak-kanak tidak boleh lagi disebat di bawah section 91. So you must remember section 91 adalah macam sentencing, power mahkamah, tapi bukan sentencing. Dia adalah order which based on the proof of offence. Ini you nak kena ingat betul-betul. Ingat betul-betul. Lepas tu subsection 2 pun you kena ingat betul-betul. The word conviction and sentence shall not be used in relation to the child dealt with by the court for children. Saya tahu, you all dah tahu. Tak boleh lah kita nak impose conviction dengan sentence kan. Sebenarnya aku dah tahu ni. Tapi bila nanti dalam exam, saya tak jamin benda ni soalan keluar. Tapi kalau dalam exam, jangan setakat kata bahawa, the word conviction and sentence cannot be used. Tapi you tak bagi tahu pada saya section berapa. Sebab itu saya nak bagi tahu kepada saudara dan saudari sekalian, yang membezakan you all dengan graduan lain adalah you all adalah graduan undang-undang dan syariah. Macam mana you keluarkan sebarang reference berkaitan dengan authority Al-Quran dan Sunnah. Begitulah juga dalam konteks undang-undang, you kena bagi tahu saya dalam exam. Section berapa? Okay, case apa? Bukan sekadar tulis case dan juga section. Sebab itu saya rasa pelajar tahun 1 yang baru belajar setahun pun dia boleh buat. Tapi please summarize. Summarize to me when you refer to section, katalah section 91. What is it all about and why is it important in your answer? You need to tell me because I know that section 91 is for what, but I need to know whether you understand or not. Your level of understanding is reflected towards your exam answer at the end of the day that will determine your marks. Okay? And will determine whether you are fit and proper to become a legal person under the LPQB requirements. That is very important. Okay, so the words conviction and sentence you must be remember based on section berapa? 91 subsection 2. Dan jangan pula tiba-tiba you kata if the court found the child guilty. You dah sebut kat atas tu conviction. Boleh tak boleh guna perkataan the child found guilty, finding of guilt. Boleh ke tak boleh? Kalau dia tak boleh guna perkataan conviction, dia tak boleh guna perkataan sentence, okay? Boleh ke tak boleh?
Boleh.
Boleh untuk sebagai ganti kepada conviction. Okay? A finding of guilt of a child shall be disregarded for the purposes of any written law which imposes any disqualification, disability, convicted dan sebagainya. Dia tertakluk kepada sama ada child ini disability ataupun tidak. Okay, parent or guardian can execute bond di bawah section 93. Ini you boleh baca nanti, maknanya parent dengan kanak-kanak tu, parent dan juga penjaga kepada kanak-kanak boleh menjadi penjamin, ya. Okay. Kalau misal kata mahkamah keluarkan perintah untuk kanak-kanak tersebut membayar denda di bawah subsection 1D. Okay. Nampak situ tak? Order the child to pay fine. Memanglah secara munasabahnya kanak-kanak ni belum bekerja dan memang tak boleh bayar denda. Jadi boleh tak mak ayah dia membayar denda tersebut? Jawapannya boleh. Di bawah section 94. Sebab itu, apabila mahkamah mengeluarkan perintah bahawa kanak-kanak itu kena membayar denda, mahkamah kena juga menyatakan bahawa denda tersebut hendaklah dibayar oleh ibu atau bapa. Okay, instead of child. Kalau misal kata ibu bapa tersebut tidak boleh membayar denda tersebut, so siapa yang akan kena penjara? Boleh tak kalau misal kata isu pemenjaraan ini dikemukakan? Kita tengok section 94. Bagi kanak-kanak yang didakwa di mahkamah kanak-kanak, bagi sebarang kesalahan dan kemudian adanya perintah denda and compensation, and the court is of opinion that the case would be best to impose the penalty whether with or without any punishment, the court shall order the fine imposed and compensation or cost to be awarded to be paid by parent of the child instead by the child, unless the court satisfy that the parent and guardian is not available or has not conduced to the commission. Okay. Kalau parent dia tak ada, maka kenalah minta child tu bayar denda. Tapi dalam keadaan-keadaan tertentu, jika mahkamah lepas melihat kepada laporan probation dan juga the advisor tersebut, mahkamah kalau misal kata tak praktikal untuk mengeluarkan perintah denda, tak perlulah, ya. If a court for children think that the charge against the child is proof or the child admit to the facts, the court may make an order requiring the parent or guardian to pay compensation to give security of good behaviour without proceeding to record a finding of guilt against the child. Okay. Maknanya dalam keadaan macam ni, jika maksudnya kalau kanak-kanak ini mengaku salah. Okay. Tapi jangan sebut mengaku salah, ya. Admit to the facts. Sebab akta kanak-kanak dia tak kata pleaded guilty. Terms you nak kena jaga juga, ya, bagi proceeding melibatkan kanak-kanak. When the court require the parent or guardian to give security of good behaviour, one or more of condition mestilah diimpose kepada parent. If the parent fail to comply, then the court may order the security to be forfeited. Maksudnya security duit tu akan di forfeited, rampas. An order under this section shall not be made against the parent or guardian without giving parent or guardian an opportunity to be heard. This is audi alteram partem. Maknanya parent and guardian must be given opportunity to be heard. Okay. And kalau notwithstanding under section 4, an order under this section may be made if the court for children is satisfied the information given by a probation officer, sama ada available ataupun not available in a reasonable time. Ini kalau dapat lihat dalam keadaan mahkamah berpuas hati jika parent itu tidak hadir ataupun tidak boleh dijumpai. Jadi mahkamah kena ambil kira juga, ya. Any sum imposed or order to be paid by parent or child under this section of forfeiture may be recovered from the parent in the manner provided under CPC. Okay, maksudnya kat sini kalau misal kata parent tersebut bertanggungjawab membayar denda, dia tak bayar denda, maka parent boleh dikenakan tindakan penjara bagi pihak kanak-kanak tersebut. Kalau misal kata kanak-kanak tersebut langgar bond, maka boleh ikut prosedur di bawah CPC untuk bond tersebut dibatalkan dan jumlah jaminan dirampas. But you must remember that parent must be given opportunity to be heard. Baik, kalau misal kata keputusan daripada mahkamah ini adakah tertakluk kepada rayuan ataupun revision? Jawapan dia adalah appeal di bawah Seksyen 95. Siapa yang ada bidang kuasa untuk mendengar appeal tersebut adalah Mahkamah Tinggi. Okey. Di bawah Seksyen 95 subsection 1. No appeal shall operate as a stay of execution but the Court for Children must stay execution. Okay, mahkamah kena stay execution any pending appeal, any order pending appeal, ya, pending appeal. Subsection 3, the High Court shall in criminal appeal originating from Court for Children make final decision within 12 months. This is very interesting, in which the High Court kena buat keputusan dalam tempoh 12 bulan selepas notis rayuan difailkan. Any appeal under this section notwithstanding ni bermaksud tidak tertakluk kepada mana-mana undang-undang bertulis yang lain, hendaklah diletakkan tajuk appeal by children. Okay, may be intituled as appeal by children and in dealing with any such appeal section 12 dan section 15 terpakai with modification. Okay, with modification. Okay. Okay. Dan ini kita dah bincangkan tadi berkaitan Seksyen 96 dan juga 97. Jika penjara tak boleh bersekali dengan orang dewasa, Seksyen 97 adalah berkaitan dengan tidak boleh ada hukuman gantung terhadap kanak-kanak. Alright. Macam mana dengan SOSMA? SOSMA boleh ke tak boleh? Okey, kalau dilihat kepada Regulation 3 Sub 3 of SOSMA, SK, itu SK yang katakan sebagai SK. Okey, kita ada SOSMA, kita ada SK. SK ni adalah Essential Security Cases Regulation 1975. Provide that the Child Act does not apply for security offences. Ini bermakna sekarang ni benda ni dah tak berapa penting sebab ISA dah tidak ada lagi. Alright. Berkaitan dengan media, saya pun nak kena ulas juga berkaitan dengan media. Seksyen 15 menyekat memberikan sekatan kepada restricted di media reporting and publication, and sesiapa yang melanggar kepada peruntukan Seksyen 15 ni boleh dikenakan penjara, boleh dikenakan denda. Denda tidak melebihi RM10,000 ataupun penjara tidak melebihi 5 tahun ataupun kedua-duanya. Alright. So the restriction imposed on the media under Section 15, sekejap saya nak kena pergi Section 15. Sebelum itu ada apa-apa soalan nak tanya? Are you guys with me?
Sir.
Ya.
Yeah. Kalau diorang dihantar kat Eniger ni, ada tempoh ke sir?
Ada. Dia ada tempoh-tempoh tertentu. Dan tempoh tersebut adalah sehingga mereka mencapai umur dewasa.
So kalau diorang di-charge umur 17, lepas tu sentence pun 17, lepas tu dah umur lebih 18, so continue situ lah?
Dia akan keluar daripada Eniger ni lah.
Di penjara ke macam biasa?
Ya, dia akan dipenjara seperti biasa. Tapi selalunya dalam buat order tersebut akan melihat juga kesesuaian usia dia. Contoh kalau usia dia macam border gitu, maka dah semestinya lah dia duduk setahun sahaja dalam Eniger ni. Kalau misal kata dia dah melepasi umur, masa dia buat tu adalah pada masa kanak-kanak, tapi masa dia ditangkap dan didakwa tu umur dia dah lebih, maka dia tak masuk Eniger ni, dia masuk penjara biasa. Tetapi proses dia masih lagi ambil kira Child Act 2001. Okay? Okay, restriction. Ada soalan lagi dia? Alia, okay ke?
Okay.
Alright, okay. Ada yang lain nak bertanya? Tengok juga berkaitan Section 15 dekat depan you all ni, restriction on media reporting and publication. Apa yang boleh apakah sekatan-sekatan tersebut ya? The restriction imposed on the media are with respect to the reporting of the children in the following circumstances, iaitu berkaitan dengan who is involved in the criminal act, be at the pre-trial or post-trial, who is taken into temporary custody, because you need to remember that the child offender need of protection, care and rehabilitation. Dan juga beberapa perkara lah yang you dapat lihat dekat sini shall not reveal the name, address or educational institution or include any particular calculated to lead the identification of any child. Tidak boleh dinyatakan di situ. Sebab tu kalau you lihat dekat page 728, in the case of KWK, a child versus PP, dia tak sebut nama kanak-kanak tersebut semasa kes ini dibawa ke peringkat rayuan maka tidak boleh even reported, tidak boleh report secara direct nama kanak-kanak tersebut. Okay, so ini adalah perkara yang penting sebab tu sebab saya terlibat juga dengan Kementerian Pendidikan sebelum ni dan ada, kalau you perasan secara tiba-tiba pihak PDRM ada release senarai sekolah yang mempunyai pelajar-pelajar yang terlibat dengan kongsi gelap. Okay, saya kena bagi tahu you all, dalam sekolah kat Malaysia ni walau macam mana pun dia akan ada minimum 2% ataupun maksimum 5% daripada jumlah pelajarnya akan terlibat dengan kes-kes jenayah. Dia confirm, dia tak ada satu sekolah pun yang, saya kata sekolah biasa bukan sekolah agama. Sekolah-sekolah biasa ni akan tertakluk kepada dia punya profil murid adalah berbeza. Jadi walau macam mana kanak-kanak itu terlibat sekalipun dengan apa-apa kongsi gelap dan sebagainya, dia adalah restriction on media to report and to publicize anything regarding the child. Sebab dia tertakluk kepada Section 15 Akta Kanak-Kanak. Right? Boleh? Maka kita dah settle berkaitan dengan tajuk Mahkamah Kanak-Kanak. Wassalamu. Alright, ada apa-apa yang nak tanya?
Sir.
Ya.
Doktor.
Oi, okey.
Pergi dulu Aisyah.
Siapa nak tanya dulu? Okey.
Saya lah, I've been wondering, kalau lah minor tu committed offence as a group, charge diorang ke akan jointly dalam Court of Children ke ataupun diorang akan separated? Macam kalau court biasa, orang-orang yang attain 18 years above kan boleh join charge and diorang akan di trial dalam satu trial kan? So kalau children tu macam mana?
You mean dia jointly charged with adult ataupun jointly charged among the children?
Among the children, diorang buat bersama-sama.
Boleh, mereka boleh didakwa secara bersama. Jadi peraturan berkaitan dengan jointly charged tu pun terpakai juga. Cuma dia tidak dinyatakan secara direct dalam Child Act lah. Tapi peruntukan lain masih boleh refer kepada CPC. Cuma bila nak membuat perintah nanti, dia kena buat perintah yang berbeza lah. Dia kena buat perintah seorang demi seorang. Faham tak?
Faham.
Sebab dia akan ada melibatkan mak ayah yang berbeza, kecuali dia adik-beradik yang sama. Jadi kena pastikan setiap seorang itu diberikan opportunity untuk mak ayah dia membuat rayuan, mitigation. You kena beri ruang kepada pegawai probation officer untuk tender probation report of each and every child. Lepas tu you kena beri ruang kepada advisor untuk memberikan pandangan dia based on each and every child yang didakwa tersebut. Dan perintah juga adalah perintah yang berbeza. Dia tak boleh sekali arung. Dia dia agak kata orang delicate sikit. Sebab you nak kena make sure bahawa you treat the child tu one by one. They can be jointly charged, but you kena treat them separately. Kecuali maksudnya saksi pun saksi yang berbeza-beza. Kecuali kalau misalnya kata saksi itu adalah sama, then you can jointly charge them. Tapi in terms of making order differently.
Oh, jadi protector tu setiap seorang child tu sama ataupun seorang protector untuk semua child atau setiap child tu ada protector masing-masing?
Dia boleh jadi protector yang sama ataupun dia boleh jadi protector yang berbeza-beza. Because the protector will come from the same department within the same territorial jurisdiction of the court.
Oh, faham. Okey,
Boleh?
terima kasih sir. Boleh?
Alright. Thank you Aisyah. Ya, tadi ada siapa nak tanya?
Doktor,
Ya.
kan dalam Cedera Act Section 43 dia bagi definitions offence tu apa. Cuma kan kalau ikutkan dalam criminal procedure yang biasa CPC kan dia dah bezakan, spesifikkan bailable offences dengan non-bailable
Non-bailable.
offences. Macam mana dengan check act ni, macam mana kita nak tentukan yang arrest tu kena ada warrant, tanpa ada warrant, and then macam mana yang offences yang boleh di-bail, yang boleh tak di-bail. Dia sama ke ataupun berbeza sir?
Bailable ataupun non-bailable masih lagi refer kepada CPC. Okay. Bailable ataupun non-bailable sama juga dengan whether it is warrant or not, masih lagi terpakai kepada CPC dalam konteks tersebut. Jadi dia tak ada isu berkaitan sama ada Child Act itu tak ada dalam peruntukan tu. Maknanya kalau you nak refer berkaitan dengan perkara tersebut, maka dia ada, you need to refer dalam jadual di bawah CPC.
Yang ni kita kena refer kepada Cedera Act Section 110 Subsection 2 kan?
110 subsection 2.
Yang dia cakap selepas arrest semua prosedur akan mengikut CPC punya.
Ya.
Okey. Masih saya
Alright.
nak nampak aliran je.
Okay, thank you Faiz for highlighting the particular section. Okay, any other question? Ada apa-apa soalan?
Tak ada sir.
Okay, thank you Faiz. Any other question from you guys?
Sir,
Yeah.
kan section 83 tu kan, kalau macam dia ditangkap dan di-charge umur 17 tapi bicara-bicara dah lebih 18, so kod biasa se kan?
Section 83 Dia mengatakan macam ini, walaupun kanak-kanak itu telah pun melepasi umur kanak-kanak, dia tidak bermakna bahawa kanak-kanak itu akan dipindahkan ke mahkamah biasa. Mahkamah kanak-kanak pun masih boleh mendengar kes tersebut. Sebab mahkamah kanak-kanak akan mengambil kira pada usia dia adalah pada masa usia dia buat kesalahan tu adalah usia kanak-kanak. You mean pada masa, katalah dia didaftarkan, kes tu didaftarkan di mahkamah, masa tu dia umur kanak-kanak. Lepas tu masa bicara-bicara umur dia dah melepasi kanak-kanak. Jadi adakah mahkamah kanak-kanak boleh mendengar? Jawapan dia adalah boleh. Boleh. Cuma nanti daripada segi perintah tu mungkin akan sama ada perintah itu adalah perintah berdasarkan kepada akta kanak-kanak ataupun perintah tu adalah sebagaimana perintah di bawah CPC. Sebab itu contoh kalau melibatkan kesalahan yang mana bidang kuasa dia adalah bidang kuasa mahkamah lain. Contohnya kalau kanak-kanak itu dituduh dengan kesalahan merogol. Macam saya beritahu kat you, rogol ni adalah di bawah bidang kuasa mahkamah session. Jadi dia daripada mula dia tak akan pergi kepada mahkamah magistrate, dia terus pergi kepada mahkamah session. Sebab mahkamah session boleh award any punishment or any imprisonment sebagaimana yang dinyatakan di bawah section 83 subsection 2C. Cuma tak boleh kena sebat sahaja.
So means kena tengok offense dia buat apa jugalah.
Kena tengok offense dia buat apa juga. Sama juga section 302, dia takkan pergi dekat mahkamah magistrate. Bila berbunuh dia pergi dekat mahkamah tinggi. Tapi mahkamah tinggi must be mindful of section 83. Of the Child Act sebab melibatkan kanak-kanak. Maksudnya dia kena lihat juga jenis-jenis kesalahan tersebut. Sebab tu mahkamah kanak-kanak ni memanglah exclusively dia adalah mahkamah magistrate. Tetapi macam mana pun dia kena lihat apakah kesalahan yang kanak-kanak itu didakwa.
Faham? Terima kasih,
Okey.
sir. Okey.
Alright, terima kasih. Ada soalan lain? Okey, pada masa exam nanti make sure you all dah dapat tarikh. Oleh kerana itu saya harap you all bersedia dengan CPC. Bersedialah juga dengan Child Act ni. Dan persediaan tersebut ada yang bertanya kepada saya berkaitan kalau exam itu 3 jam, jadi adakah what happen kalau you have any internet problem dalam tempoh 3 jam tu. So untuk saya it's okay kalau you nak submit dalam 5 atau 10 minit lambat daripada tarikh 3 jam tu. Maknanya saya ambil kira jugalah lepas maknanya lepas pukul 11 pagi, 11.05 minit, 11.10 minit you masih boleh submit. Okay. So perkara tersebut you jangan risau. If you have continuously problem 3 jam tersebut you tak ada data internet ataupun you have any other problem in which you tak boleh nak attend to the exam or submit on that day, please inform us. Okay, please inform us ya. So that we can do other arrangement for you. Okay, boleh? Ada soalan? Kalau tidak ada soalan lagi, ada soalan akhir? Ada apa-apa nak tanya?
Tak ada.
Alright, kalau tak ada soalan akhir, terima kasih banyak-banyak. Ini merupakan kuliah kita yang terakhir. You all nak buat revision ke minggu depan? Ke tak perlu?
Nak.
Nak, sir.
Nak, sir.
Seorang, dua orang je tanya.
Nak topik revision yang untuk ni lah.
Topik yang masuk, sir.
Aduh, topik yang masuk
Sebagi hint lah, hint-hint sikit.
Okay, kalau macam tu, maksudnya you all kena ada kelas lagi untuk revision next week hari Jumaat, boleh?
Saya
Boleh, sir.
Boleh.
Boleh. Boleh. Alright, okay. So next week kita dah go for revision, okay? Right? Okay, kalau tak ada apa-apa lagi, terima kasih. So stay safe. Saya diminta dan